Hey everyone, Craig Williams here, back with another video. In this video I'm going to show you how I go about making the drums from my track and percussion. The way that I do it is pretty tedious, but I get good results, so I'm going to stick with it. Hopefully you guys can get something out of the tutorial and use it in your own production. So here all we've just got is a simple 808 kick and just a clap that I've pulled in from my samples. And all I've just got is a low cut on the kick just to tighten it up, and a little bit of a low cut on the clap just to take out any of the muddiness. So from here, what I would usually do is start importing loops into my session. So this is how I have my samples laid out. Go up to percussion loops, and then for this one we'll go for like a tech house feel, so we'll go to tech house. And then we'll start at around 126, seeing as the session's at 126. From here, all I would do is just go through and start auditioning the loops, just to try and find little bits of sounds that I like in a loop to use in my session. So that one we can use one of the little drum hits. So I would just keep continuing this until I found enough material to use in my session, and then from there I'll show you what we do next. So welcome back. As you can see, I've pulled in these bunch of loops into the session. I just thought that would work well with the kind of track that we're going for. The first one you can see here is just the high tom. So what I would usually do now is to go into the region and start cutting up the actual hits right at the transients. So I would go through all of them the whole way. Just do this really quick for you guys. So there we go, we can just work with a half a bar loop there. So here we have the loop here. So from there I would go through and just realign the samples back up onto the grid. This is because as you're pulling more and more loops, each of them are going to have a certain amount of swing on them, or they'll have no swing on them. But if you start getting different loops with different swing values on them, you can get weird grooves coming out. You can get just a lot of different stuff happening to your loops. So this way, it eliminates any of the groove that you have in any of the loops. Now some of you may be thinking that that's the whole idea, that you have the loops to get the groove and stuff like that. Well, I'll show you what we're going to do to it in a little bit. So as you can see now that I've cut the loop into all the transients, into the single hits, and then I've just aligned them back up to the grid. From here what I would do is just take a little bit of audio to the end, highlight the whole region, glue the region together, create, and then this brings it back together, and this brings the region as we've just done it as a whole. Cut the end off. Then from here, with the track selected and the region selected, open up this little tab, turn on flex mode, and I would go to rhythmic as it's a drum loop. Here, this turns it into the flex region, and you can go up to here and then just apply any of your quantized values to it. So you can apply 16C. You can hear the difference there. Apply any of I've got the MPC quantized, so if we want to really swing it out. So from there you can go and apply that same quantize value, that same quantized value to all the regions, so that all the regions will be locked together. Once you have a couple of loops that you want to use, the whole loop, that you can move them to the side. Next up, we'll be just building a loop from the samples that you have in here. So with this loop here, I really like that first sample at the start. So it'll be just a case of, again, cutting it right on the line. And then just arranging them as need be. So I'm going to go ahead and do that to the next couple of loops, and then we'll come back and we'll see how I arrange it to create something a little bit more original. So welcome back. You can see here that I've cut up the loops I've cut up a lot of the loops and taken different parts out. Here you can see on the side I've got loop 1 and then loop 1 no good. This is the parts that I took out or I changed around or whatnot. This is the original little sample that we cut out when I first showed you. Loop 2 no good, and so on. So for the first loop, you can see it's a little bit of a high sort of tom percussion hit. There's a little bit of a shaker sound in there as well. So this is what I took out. So you can hear there's a fair bit of shaker in there, and you can see that these ones are doubled up. This is pretty much the same hit, but it just had the shaker sound over the top of it, so I just substituted it for another one of the hits. And then further on we've got the deep percussion loop, and then if I play it with the original part as well, I thought it was a little bit too busy for what we needed. Next up we've got the low tom hit. And then if I add in the original, had the bass sort of sound in there and the little other percussion hit, so I took that out. And this one was the shaker hit. It just had another little bit of percussion in there as well, which I didn't want in there to muddy up the mix. So altogether, it sounds kind of pretty good. Nice little tech house sort of sound there. From there, what I would do is go to these individual loops, render them down like we did before, and then again apply the same quantizers we've got to the other ones. So flex mode on, rhythmic, and we can go to this one, maybe put 16C on there, and this one we can put 16C, and then this is where you really start to tighten up all your percussion sounds together. So I'll go ahead and do that, and then when we come back I'll show you what we do next. So as you can see here, I've rendered all the loops down and applied the quantize from the MPC 3000 and 59%. So I've all got them together. It gives a nice little jacking feel to it. So from here, this is where you can go in and then you can start doing things like, you can start adding some EQs and really carving out each sound to give it its own space in the mix. And then from there you can start moving forward and adding more elements to your track and just taking it in the direction you want. So if you've got any more questions on what I've done here, or if you want anything else covered in future tutorials, feel free to drop us a line. Till next time, see you later.